to another live chat. Today we are very privileged to be with Erin Holland, who's going to share about how she utilizes the moon cycles for intention setting and releasing. So I'll go ahead and shoot it over to you. Welcome and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. As you know, this is one of my absolute favorite topics because it is really a foundation of my own personal lifestyle, how I live my life, how I accomplish business goals and regular goals. So if you haven't ever used the energy of the moon before, essentially the most important thing to understand is that the moon goes through a full phase every month. And a lot of this is seventh grade science stuff, right? So every month we have a new moon where you can't see anything. And then we have a full moon where you can see the entire moon, and then it goes back. And that takes slightly less than 30 days. And basically, Earth and our sun and our moon are all traveling, right, in our solar system. And the moon, as it's traveling, is affecting our tides, animal behavior, plant behavior, and human behavior too. And the thing about humans is because we have this cognizant brain, this logic brain, we think we're in control of everything. I think that we tend to think, well, I'm choosing how I feel today. And we do have so much power to be able to choose our own thoughts, to be able to influence our own energy, but we don't live in a vacuum. We live within a solar system. And so it doesn't take mysticism in order to understand that we're being affected by the other planets, by the moon, which is the closest thing to us, right? So traditionally, for thousands of years, people have used the energy of the moon when they're planting their crops. They would plant crops on a new moon, plant those seeds on the darkest night of the year, understanding that that was very important for the germination process. And then the full moon represents harvest. So you would harvest during a full moon and plant during a new moon. And even throughout the years, all of the different moons have different names, like the harvest moon, right? So that they were actually timing their life to the things that they could see and understand before we had these, this clock that's based in one time in the world and everyone's times are based on that. And so when we're planting the seeds of a new goal, of a new life change, we can use that same pattern and plant those seeds, set those intentions on a new moon. And then the full moon, which is about 14 days later, is the time of harvest, which is a time to look around and see, what have I accomplished? What did I get done in these past 15 days? And also a time of releasing, a time where the moon is as big as possible and it's going to decrease and decrease and decrease in size until we get back to the new moon. And so that decreasing is a time to let go of whatever is not serving you. I need to make smaller these things that are not serving me in life. Therefore, I can make more room for the new things that I'm going to bring in. And so during each of those times, we have a different set of actions that we can take, a different ceremony that we can do, different things that we can journal about. And we're about to tomorrow hit a full moon. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. So during the full moon, we have this chance for seeing what we've accomplished, which is gratitude, focusing on the positives, and decreasing the negatives, letting go of things that are no longer serving us. And when I'm teaching people about the moon cycle, if I do a series somewhere, I like to do it in a set of two. And I like to start with the full moon if I can, because I feel like so many times what's holding us back is that we're holding on to things from our past and not letting them go. We think it's that we're not good at goal setting. We think it's that we're not good at motivation. We think it's that we're not good at follow through. But from my personal experience and in working with a lot of my clients, it's really that our brain is stuck in this past gear, or that it's overwhelmed with all these things that we're thinking about. We don't know how to let go so that we can grow, right? So during the full moon, releasing what no longer serves, literally doing a burn ceremony where you take some sage and you smudge your room, right? Or where you write down everything you're letting go of and you burn that piece of paper. So we are physically and psychologically releasing that way. For the next 15 days before we get to that new moon, we can finish accomplishing those goals, lighter, less overwhelmed, not holding on to anything that doesn't serve anymore. Then when we get to the new moon, we can set a new intention, and we can base that just on whatever we happen to have going on in life. You can also look at what's going on in the rest of the universe. You can look at the other planets. You can look at Mercury, are we in retrograde, all that kind of good stuff. And you can base your type of goals on the rest of the universe, or you can just go with, well, what is the most important thing to me and how am I going to accomplish this? And you have to set those intentions and then immediately put them into action, just like you would if you're planting a seed and watering that seed, right? They don't plant the seeds and then forget about it. They plant the seeds and then they care for their crops, and you have to care for your goals just like you would if you're planting a physical plant. And that cycle just continues and continues. And so that is something that I do. I time my life based more on the moon than I do the calendar. May, June, July, August doesn't have anything to do necessarily with where the moon is. And it's just easier for me to be aware of my own energy and aware of how my goals are going if I base it on the moon and use its energy to help me instead of trying to ignore that that's a factor in my life. So that's the long story short, maybe not so short version of that.
I think you did an amazing job condensing that into just a few minutes. For me, I had heard about moon cycles, but I never really looked into it that much. And then when I was teaching my oldest son about science, how it affects the water, the pull of everything. And then again, when I was looking into gardening, I saw the same thing. And then just recently, as I was studying reproductive health, realizing that our cycles are based on the moon. And to have all these different things in nature connected to the moon cycles, it's really extraordinary, I think, how much we don't realize. And if we get back to our nature, like you said, just kind of letting go of trying to force something and just going back to our intention, being mindful of ourselves, how much more beneficial it is.
Yeah.
So what got you started in this?
Well, first I want to go back to your point about our physical cycles as females. And
Mm.
I feel certain that there is one for men too. It's just not that it's so obvious.
Right.
But we know we have a 28-day cycle or something around that.
Mm.
And we're aware of it. And if you pay attention and start tracking it, you will see your energy shifts at different times of the month. You're more clear thinking at different times. You're more emotional thinking at different times. You have higher energy, lower energy, all based on the hormones that are flowing through our body. So we can be hyper aware of that or hyper unaware of it. Some people have like no idea. They're like, whoa, that really caught me off guard this month. But that really means that you weren't aware of how your energy levels were, how your emotions were, whether you were feeling inflamed or not, right? Or swollen or not. And so the same thing is true of the moon cycle, but it's a step removed. It's not inside of our body, right? So being aware of that, it may be more subtle, but it is the same thing. It is on a 28-day cycle. And so there are a lot of people who actually will teach how to get your human cycle in line with the moon cycle, which is a thing I have not dived into because it's like a kind of like a part-time job for a few months, I think, to get that in line. But I'm fascinated that that's a modality, a healing modality. So how you get started with getting in line with the moon phases is actually just very simple. Pick a moon, whichever one you happen to be nearest to, right? So pick the full moon in this case, or the new moon, and pick a practice that works for you. So I have one that I have developed over years of practicing this way. And I do a meditation using my crystals and essential oils. And then I have some journaling kind of creative practices that I do to help me to realize what it is I need to let go. And then on the new moon to help me realize not just on a like I want a new car or I want to make this much money or I want to lose this much weight, but on an energetic level, how do I want to feel? I'm looking for peace or joy, and then tying that emotion into the physical goal. Why do I have this physical goal? Because I believe it will bring me joy. and using both of those as a goal to set intentions around. And so I actually have a guided practice that I lead people in. And I know you've done both of these, but I have on my website where you can purchase the replays with all of the information and the explanation and how to do it and step by step on my website. You can purchase them separately or together, save a little bit by getting the bundle. I also have on my YouTube channel videos on the crystals for each moon and a free download. If people prefer just to go through it themselves, there's that option as well. And so you can create whatever works for you, your own thing, or you can just let me guide you through it. But it's mostly about setting aside time, like an hour of time on that full or new moon, thinking about intention setting, thinking about releasing, and fully devoting yourself to that moment without, people like the phone ringing, people asking you for things, answering emails, even giving yourself like 2 hours a month that's just for you and your goals. Just forget everything else that I've said. Just imagine how powerful that is, right? Then tie that in with the energy of the moon. Now we're getting somewhere. And the other thing that I do between those days is to use my daily manifesting journal. And I check in every morning. I am grateful for, my focus is, and how did today go? So that it's not just 2 days that I'm giving myself that time, but it's every single day that I'm giving myself a few minutes to really refocus and make sure that I understand what my energy is, I understand what my focus is, and that I'm doing that with intentionality.
Yeah, and I just want to throw in there for anyone who may be watching and thinking about this, that in my own healing journey, there has been so much that I've gone through. And when I started incorporating your guided practices for the new moon and also releasing ceremonies, that kicked it up to a notch that I couldn't get to on my own. And it's slowly become incorporated into my own healthcare routine. So I think a lot of people from the outside who aren't familiar with it may look at it and go, well, what is this? This is kind of a little strange. But for me, it's nothing more than eating an apple or a bowl of salad or nourishing myself, drinking my water. It's become that important to me. So I want to thank you for that. And also just to kind of share that with anyone else who may be curious about it. Go explore and have fun with it. And it's truly amazing just seeing the difference, as well as tapping into, oh, I do feel this way during this moon cycle and I feel this way during that moon cycle. That's legit. I never looked at that before or realized it. But when I started becoming aware and intentionally paying attention to it objectively, I was like, oh, this really does have merit. It's amazing. So now I can prepare for it.
Yeah, and to your point about following along, and having me guide you through it. I mean, that is why I'm such a huge proponent of all of the modalities and experts in each modality. That's why I love doing Aroma Freedom Technique with you, because yes, I can do it for myself, but the power of giving that over to somebody else who knows what they're doing and allowing them to guide you through is so huge. When I teach the class on full moon or new moon, I don't get as much out of it as the people who are attending, because I'm literally thinking, okay, next step, how's everyone doing? Any question? My brain is not fully engaged in that meditative process. But the people who are there are getting, they've just released control to me and are allowing me to guide them through that. So that is really a huge benefit of doing the class as opposed to trying to do it yourself. I'll even watch my own stuff, listen to my own meditations, watch my own ceremonies, because then I'm giving myself, control, but externally. And I'm just able to enjoy the process without having to think 1, 2, 3, 4, let me make sure I do all the things right. So that is huge, to be able to allow somebody to walk you through a healing process.
Absolutely. And that it really is simple. I think there's also immediate benefits. Like you talk about the combination of the crystals and the essential oils being the wow and the pow. I think the same thing with when you take that intention setting or releasing with the moon cycles, and then you have you guiding us through it. It's very powerful.
And being able to track your year like on a smaller scale too. I mean, we have our months, but even breaking it down into 2 times a month. So now you've broken your year into 24 and it keeps you on track even better.
Absolutely. And going along with your manifesting journal too, just even if I don't get in the morning to sit down and do that, I still have that affirmation and intention in my head. So I'm constantly thinking about it all day and then tuning into the energies going on around me. It's been exponentially transformational for me. So I definitely would encourage everyone to at least try it for a month and then see how you feel and go from there. So I know you'll give us the links and everything so people can get connected. Is there anything else you have to say or add on to this?
I think that's it. I mean, just the other benefit of it, it is a huge part of the manifesting process. The I desire this on an energetic and a physical level, and I intend to make it happen, and I follow through, and it happens, right? So it's huge for that, but also just aligning with nature, just getting in tune with the environment around us instead of being dissonant with the environment around us. I mean, we're both inside, we're both on a computer. There are so many ways that we kind of box ourselves off from what's happening outdoors. I mean, no one except that we are saying that there's a storm near you, nobody would know that, right? But it's happening. And so the more we're in tune with what's going on in the world around us, in the universe around us, the more we can manifest with ease because we're not trying to work against the universe, right? We're not trying to work against the environment in which we find ourselves because we have so much control, but we are also always interacting with the energies around us. So just if you want life to be easier, get in alignment, get with the program. Don't try to work against it.
Absolutely. And that's such a good point, too, because I already have energy level issues that I'm working on. And then when I'm going against the natural cycle of things, that just makes it even worse. So when I've tapped into this and gone with the flow of things, that just frees up so much more energy for me. And then I actually can start knocking things out that I wasn't able to do before. So just on that energetic level alone, it's amazing. So I wanted to ask you, what's your go-to favorite crystal and essential oil for the full moon and also just in general for manifesting?
So go to crystal and oil for the full moon would be, for me personally, probably smoky quartz because I have a smoky quartz point necklace that I love to wear. And I always wear that around a full moon and also anytime when I need releasing or to not gather other people's energies. And there's a grounding blend, right, by Young Living that I love. I also love all the wood oils. So frankincense, cedar wood. I like to burn sage or Palo Santo. So anything that is a grounding oil that you would associate with meditation, with releasing negativity, are great for the full moon. For a new moon, intention setting, I love anything to do with inspiration or clarity. So the classics, clear quartz amethyst, right? Recently, I've really been using fluorite a lot. Um, and for the essential oils, anything that really helps you to get that clarity. So that could be peppermint, as simple as that. It could be the clarity blend. Inspiration, it could be, I love, oh, what is it called? Rabbit Sarah, which is kind of a more awakening meditative blend. Spruce, which has grounding, but also that, strength. So a lot of anything you would use for clarity or for inspiration, any of those oils would be great as well. And general manifesting, super powerful manifesting crystals would be pyrite for abundance. Blue apatite is great for helping you to manifest your goals. Tiger eye, I love for both grounding and high vibrations. It's a great goal setting and follow through crystal. And then manifesting essential oils, whatever is your favorite meditation blend, I would recommend that because that process of getting into that meditative state and disconnecting from the stress, at least for me personally, is just like the main thing for manifesting.
Right. Awesome. Thank you so much. And just thank you so much for your time as well. And I just want to say too, being a customer, that level that you pour into that is so beautiful. And it puts the whole experience with you up to this exponential degree. And I wish everyone would kind of take notes from how you're doing things. I certainly am. And I think you can do business and really meet people where they're at and truly help them. And I think everyone who comes in contact with you sees that and feels it. So thank you for what you're doing. Well, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom, your heart, your passion. And for everyone else who's watching, make sure you drop a comment, let Erin know if you checked out any of her stuff and if you can come by and visit her if you're near the Brooklyn area. And other than that, that's all for now, and we will see you next time.